We're about to begin actually building our theme from scratch. And our first step is going to be creating our theme folder and adding a theme.info file inside of that folder. But before we actually do that, I wanted to go over the different options that were available to us in that .info file. So go ahead and go to your resource pack folder, and we're going to open up the BAT folder or BAT folder. This is short for Build a Theme. And I wanted to just name this in a way that would disambiguate it from other theme functions. And if we expand it, and then expand the steps folder, let's go ahead and open up the first step, which is Overview of Info File Keys. Now, if you've watched the videos on the module.info files, the same principles will apply to the theme.info files. The idea behind a .info file is that it's a set of key value pairs, the key being on the left side, the value being on the right. So for example, we have the name key here, and the value is BAT or build a theme. And each one of these describes a setting inside of the theme. This helps Drupal use these settings in a way that can integrate with the configuration options. What I've done with this file is compiled a list based on several other .info files of all of the possible settings that you can use in a .info file. This way you get to see what options are available. But when we start actually implementing our .info file, we're going to start much simpler than this. At the very top, we have a couple of comments. And if you want to add comments to your .info file, all you need to do is preface each line with a semicolon. So we have 2 lines of comments here. Next, we have the name of the theme. This is used in the configuration options for the theme. Same with the description. This is just a short description of what the theme is. Core provides us with a description of which version of Drupal this theme works for. Engine is the template engine that's being used with this theme. In 99% of the cases, it's going to be PHP template, so we don't need to really worry about this so much, except that we need to add this line into our .info file. Screenshot allows us to specify a screenshot for the configuration options for the theme. This next setting for style sheets is a little different than the ones above. You see that there are brackets and then another set of brackets before we get to the value of the key. What this is an array. So what we're doing here is taking the style sheets variable. We're specifying an item inside of this style sheets variable called all, and then we're adding new items to this style sheets all variable by adding empty brackets at the end of the variable. So what this does is add an additional item to this variable each time we specify it, and you see it's specified 4 times. Now if you look down here, we have a print item in here. So once all of these are put together inside of a single variable called style sheets, what you'll see is 2 items that belong inside of the style sheets array, and then you'll see 4 items inside of the style sheets all array, and then 1 inside of the style sheets print array. What this variable is for is specifying what style sheets belong where on the site. In the style sheets all variable, these are style sheets or CSS files that will be added to every page in the theme. With print, it's added to the document when it's prepared for printing. So this will, for example, simplify the layout, make things have a higher contrast if you're using lower contrast colors, things like that. Next we have scripts, which is structured similarly, except this is a single tiered array. So we don't have scripts, brackets, something, and then brackets. We have just a single pair of brackets. And all we're doing is adding the JavaScript files that will be included with every page. So we see one here and one here. So both of these will get added. Next, we're setting up a set of regions. Now we'll go through what regions are more specifically in future videos, but the general idea of regions is that they're areas on a page where blocks can be added inside of it. So you'll see a region for the left column, the right column, the center column, the header, and the footer. And as you look at the various regions inside of here, we have footer here, we have sidebar first and sidebar second, which is Drupal 7's way of describing the left and right column, but those are switched for right to left languages. We have the content, which is the main area of the page. We have help, which typically displays above the content. We have highlight, which typically displays above the help and content. The header, and page top and page bottom, which are typically used by modules, but not often exposed in the blocks configuration page. Now, if we wanted to add additional regions, we could just add them down here, and then we would need to specify inside of our template files, our page.tpl.php file, where the region will render. Sometimes we want to have regions, like the page top and page bottom, that we don't want to expose in the blocks configuration page or other configuration pages that have the regions exposed to them. But instead we want to just expose them to modules that will be adding blocks or content inside of those regions. And we can do that by specifying them as a hidden region. So once we've added them in the regions, we can add them to regions hidden, and they will no longer display in the blocks configuration or other configurations that use regions. And here we're hiding the sidebar first region. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a bit. Next, we have a features array here. And in this, we specify which features we want users to be able to toggle on and off in the theme settings page. So for example, by adding logo here, we say that the logo option on the list of items to display or hide in the theme settings page will show up. So there will be a checkbox that says display the logo, and they can check it or uncheck it. If this was missing from here, then that item wouldn't display and the default setting would be used. Now, if features is omitted altogether, then the default Drupal set of features will display on the theme settings page instead. But as soon as we start to use the features array inside of our info file, we override that. And so if all we had was logo and name, those would be the only two that would display on our theme settings page. Okay, settings here allow us to specify additional settings that will display on the theme settings page. These are custom ones that are added through an additional file called themesettings.php in our theme folder, and we'll talk more about that later. But in addition to adding them to the form through a hook form alter type function, what we're doing here is also specifying their existence inside of the info file so that they're aggregated in with the other settings for the theme. And finally, in themes that you've downloaded from Drupal or that are included with Drupal core, you're going to see this information added by Drupal.org packaging script. And there's some additional information here about the theme.